What up, man? Welcome to another live episode of the Ultimate 216 Show. I'm your boy, Earl of Pearl. You know the vibes. If you woke up today, you already won. I hope somebody has done something so far throughout the day that their future selves will thank them from, man. Make sure you hit that like button. Subscribe to the Ultimate Cleveland Sports Show YouTube channel. We got 12 people. We're going to wait till some more people pile in. Do me a favor right now. Drop where you watching from, whether you're watching from Cleveland, Ohio, or somewhere else in the United States or somewhere outside of the country, man. Pull up, let us know where you watching from. We appreciate y'all showing us some love. Cecil Shorts couldn't be with us today. He had an emergency. He will be back next week. End of the show, I got a 5-leg parlay courtesy of FanDuel on the Cleveland Guardians game tonight. They take on the Yankees at 7 o'clock. Spencer German, the host of Locked On Browns, will join us in about 5:15. He was out there at OTAs today. He had talked to us about everything that he saw. And we're going to get started talking about one Shedeur Sanders, Dylan Gabriel, and what I observed, not what I observed, but what I read from what, happened today at OTAs. Again, don't forget, man, like, subscribe to the Ultimate Cleveland Sports Show YouTube channel. Hit that like button, tell a friend, share all this. So, from all accounts from everybody that was out there, they said Shedeur Sanders looked pretty good out there, that he looked better than Dylan Gabriel. It's a keynote to note that Kenny Pickett took the very first rep of the 11 on 11s, followed by Joe Flacco, followed by Dylan Gabriel. Shedeur Sanders was the only quarterback of the four not to get any first-team reps. I got some tweets and I got some video from about 4 different people who were in attendance today, one from The Athletic, one from Cleveland.com, one from ESPN, and one from 92.3 The Fan, just to kind of give you a visual of what they had to say about what took place in the open session of OTAs today. I thought Mary Kay Cabot's video was quite interesting. So what I want to do before Spencer comes on is kind of paint the picture of what was said about the Browns insiders that was present today. We ain't painting no narratives. We ain't painting no pictures. We're just calling it straight down the line. This is not what I had to say. This is what the people who was there had to say. So we're going to start off with a tweet from one Zach Jackson of The Athletic. Let me go ahead and get this other screen up off the way real quick. So this is what he had to say. Tommy Reed said, "You can see all of them winning the job. We are still really early in the competition, trying to get them all ready to go." Offensive coordinator said he really liked what he saw from all his guys out there today. Daryl Ryder of 92.3 The Fan said, it's unfair because it's OTA's QB evaluation, but Shedeur Sanders has had a better day than Dylan Gabriel. Daniel Oyefusi from ESPN, he is the Cleveland Browns insider of ESPN, frequent guy on the Ultimate Cleveland Sports Show. He had this to say: Browns OTA practice just ended. It was a strong day for Shedeur Sanders, who notably was the only quarterback not to take reps with the first-team offense today. Head coach Kevin Stefanski has downplayed the practice order and first-team reps, but we'll see if that changes during the mandatory minicamp. So that was what some people had to say based on what they observed at camp. Next, we'll play a video from Cleveland Browns insider by way of Cleveland.com, Mary Kay Cabot. I thought that her comments was quite interesting. Take a listen closely. This video is about a minute long, but she details what she saw, who she thought had the better day, and who stood out. Just take a listen to what Mary Kay had to say.
Gabriel. It was the first time that we got a chance to see Shedeur Sanders participate in 11 on 11s. He did not do any of those last week while the other 3 quarterbacks did. Now, he didn't get a chance to work with the first team offense today against the first team defense, but it was a step up that he got to work in those 11 on 11s. It means he's progressing, he's coming along well, and Kevin Stefanski had told us that he would get some of these 11 on 11s. So I thought that was pretty interesting. I actually thought he had the better day in terms of the 2 rookies. Dylan struggled a little bit with some incompletions and just with some passes that were broken up and things like that. But I asked offensive coordinator Tommy Rees about that, and he said right now they are process-driven more so than results-driven. Getting back to Shedeur Sanders for a minute, in that 11 on 11 period, he threw a beautiful pass to Caden Davis just in front of the end zone. Caden Davis didn't get his foot in, so it wasn't a touchdown, even though it was called that on the field. But upon further review, especially from our photographer Josh Gunter, the foot was out, but it was still a really nice pass by Shedeur. All in all, a very good day by him.
So that's what Mary Kay Cabot had to say about what she saw out there at Cap. So should we read anything into the fact that Shedeur Sanders did not take any first team 11 on 11 reps in front of the media? And I only bring that up because we had Mary Kay Cabot on this show on Friday. And I think I asked her at said time, did she think Shedeur Sanders were getting those reps behind closed doors? At that time, she said she didn't think so. She happened to be at the Cleveland Browns golf outing where Kevin Stefanski was present, and she so happened to ask him the same question, and he confirmed that, yes, Shedeur Sanders was, in fact, getting 11 on 11 work behind closed doors. So now the new question becomes, do you think that he has gotten any of that 11 on 11 work with the first teams, or will that happen tomorrow, per se, or Friday, should I say, per se, behind closed doors when the media won't be present? Should we be reading anything into the fact that he didn't get any first team reps? Should we really kind of just, take Kevin for his word that we shouldn't really pay attention to the pecking order right now as we see it? I thought that it was pretty interesting that we had, 4 different people who was OTAs today from 4 different outlets, speak to that Shedeur Sanders and their eyes kind of separated themselves, though this is a voluntary OTA, though, things can't really be taken seriously at this moment, but it's still noteworthy. And maybe I shouldn't be saying that things shouldn't be taken seriously, because for young quarterbacks like Dillon Gabriel and Shedeur Sanders, every single rep that they get, it matters. It counts. It's going to go towards Kevin Stefanski making a decision on, how the depth chart will play out. And then if it comes down to who gets the opportunity to start, who that guy will be up first. And it just seems like lately that Shedeur Sanders has separated himself from the competition when it comes to that rookie battle between him and Dillon Gabriel. I think that everybody who had an opinion on what they saw was non-biased. And if the people out here watching this, podcast think that those reporters are biased, those are the same people who felt they were being unfairly biased to one Shedeur Sanders. And so now you have those same people saying, you know what, Shedeur Sanders, he looked good. This is the second time that Daryl Ryder in particular has pointed out the mechanics, so to speak, and just how Shedeur has looked sharp with each opportunity that he was given. Now, I know I shouldn't be bringing this up because I was one of the people that was frustrated by it, but I will be doing a fan base a disservice if I didn't talk about this. ESPN Cleveland, they tracked the stats yet again. I know you heard all the hosts on our show. They was not too happy about the stats being tracked, but it is what it is. And they did it yet again. So here's how it went down today. Joe Flacco completed 4 of 7 passes. Kenny Pickett completed 9 of 15 passes and had 2 touchdowns. Dillon Gabriel completed 11 of 20 attempts for 3 touchdowns. And Shedeur Sanders completed 9 of 14, 3 touchdowns, and 1 interception. So that's how the guys, stats look. You can take that for what it's worth if you want to read into it. But I think the biggest thing is, I heard Kevin say that he felt like the guys was having fun, and he felt like essentially the rookies was picking up everything that was being put down. And so to me, it sounds like that they're understanding and processing the offense, that they're processing everything that they need to do as quarterbacks to earn a fair shot at either being quarterback 2 or possibly the starting quarterback on opening day. Who knows how things is going to shape up. But I thought those were some very interesting takeaways for some of the reporters that was out there. Let's get to some of y'all comments. We got 157 people watching live. I want to appreciate everybody who's tuned in right now. We got somebody watching from Cleveland Heights. We got somebody watching from Lander Haven. Somebody said fresh lineup. Shout out to my barber, Dumpy Cuts, man. He do keep me fresh. Says the Browns hurting those 3rd and 4th team guys, playing them against Sanders. He's going to make them look worse than they might be. Dale G said, read the fact that Mary Kay is a hater. Robert says, if Tommy says that it's all about processing, why does it matter what team reps he gets? That could be a valid point, I think, at this particular time, because it is about processing, and it is about what you do with the reps you do get. Whether it be 11 on 11, 7 on 7, whatever the case may be. Because the truth be told, if Shedeur Sanders was out there stinking it up, people would have no issue, talking about it. Whether it was a voluntary OTA, 11 on 11s, or 7 on 7s. If he wasn't performing at all, they wouldn't be saying, well, keep in mind it's voluntary, or keep in mind it's 7 on 7 or 11 on 11. They'll have a whole lot to say. And so I don't think it's unfair to point out that, yeah, even though it's voluntary and the stats, quote unquote, don't matter, you got to give him his kudos, because he is processing the information and he is doing what the head coach is asking of him to earn those competitions, to earn more reps further up the depth chart in the competition. Ian says, no, who cares about the first team reps? Billy Musgrave is mentoring Shedeur and basically focused on the development of Shedeur in particular. That's why Shedeur is usually away from the other three quarterbacks. Shout out to Ian, man, who has become a regular on the Ultimate Cleveland Sports Show YouTube channel. I think that is a very, very valid point as well, because Daniel and Zach noted that anytime that Shedeur or Dylan Gabriel is not getting on-field reps, that they are pretty much glued to quarterback coach Bill Musgrave. And so that says that they are paying attention to their teacher, and that he is actually, he's really locked in with his guys, and he understands that the development of both of these young men essentially is going to fall on his feet, because he is the quarterback's coach. And so for them to be soaking up everything that he has as far as knowledge and helping those guys prepare for when they get those opportunities on the football field, I think that's pretty dope. Ian also says that, let's see what else he says. He says Tony Gressel almost choked in his humble pie. VJ says he's watching from Columbus, Ohio. Shout out to Columbus. Derek Smith says, good show. Thank you. Buckeye Paulie says, Chop asked Tony point blank who did the best, and brings up one throw from Shedeur and starts talking about Dylan started slow but finishing strong. He's biased. Listen, to each his own, right? Like if they want to be biased, cool. And I get it. Like I know yesterday I got triggered by some of Shedeur's personal fan base who kind of feel some type of way about the city or the team or some of the media coverage. And I kind of took that personal, because I ain't said a damn thing out of pocket about Shedeur Sanders. I've actually spoke very highly of his character, and I've spoken to the positivity of what I see as him as a quarterback. Quite honestly, I don't care where he was drafted. I feel like he's a better player than Dylan Gabriel. That's no knock on Dylan Gabriel. Dylan had a fine college career. He left college football with his name in the record books. Can't say nothing negative about that. He battled in the Big Ten, whatever the case may be. But even if you didn't see Shedeur Sanders as the second overall pick or as a first round pick, I don't think it was too many GMs that had Dylan Gabriel rated higher than Shedeur Sanders on their draft board. How the Cleveland Browns ended up with him higher on their board, I don't know. And true story, we will probably never know how that decision was made, how that situation panned out. All I know is, we got Shedeur Sanders, and he's going to get an opportunity to show what he can do and what he's about. I'm excited. I'm pretty sure the fan base is excited about it. And I'll tell you this, if Shedeur shows up, shows out, and wins, then it's going to be really, really hard to kind of find a fixed narrative if you're somebody that is not a supporter of Shedeur. Ian says he's watching from Boston. Derek is watching from Dallas, Texas. Dave Young says the interception wasn't on Shedeur. The wide receiver had butterfingers. Dave Young facts. Let's see what else we got. Warren G says salute. So, yeah, that's how I see it when it comes to what went down. A couple other things to take note of from OTAs. And again, Spencer German will be joining us shortly from the Locked On Browns podcast to talk about some of the things he saw out there at camp. But a couple other things to take note of. Both Cedric Tillman and Michael Woods, wide receivers, did not practice today for the Cleveland Browns. And we all know that depth is an issue when it comes to that room. I think we can all agree that we are one Jerry Jeudy injury away from having to scratch our head about, how good will that wide receiver room be. I can't wait to ask Spencer about the running back competition. Has Quinshon Judkins clearly separated himself from the pack? Dylan Sampson, Jerome Ford, amongst others. That'd be interesting to find out. So just looking forward to figuring out what really he saw and how things are shaping up. I think when we come back for mandatory veterans mini camp, I think it's going to be very, very interesting. And I say that because as we go through these OTAs, we are really getting an opportunity, in those brief open moments to see how things are shaping out. And all we can do is really, depend on the content that's written for the other part of it. But I think we'll have an idea of how Kevin Stefanski sees his quarterback room, by the time we get to that mandatory minicamp practice. And I do think at said time, we will see live action of Shedeur Sanders actually taking first team 11 on 11 reps. And even if he gets second team reps, I think those reps will be very, very important in the mandatory phase of things. And here's why. People can dissect whatever they want to dissect in a voluntary OTA. They in shorts and t-shirts. The defense is not really putting in work. You can't get hit. Well, the quarterback ain't gonna get hit throughout training camp anyway. So you can just take that piece off the puzzle. You can take that and just throw that away. But it's gonna be so many things that's dissected. And I think when you get to that mandatory phase, even when like with the veterans returning, the second team unit that he's going to be able to throw against is going to be much tougher competition than the competition say he's throwing against this week. If he gets first team reps, okay, now you're going up against Myles Garrett, Denzel Ward, and co. And so we'll be able to get another evaluation of Shedeur Sanders on the next level. I think personally, Kevin Stefanski and Tommy Rees and Billy Musgrave have handled this situation pretty well, in my opinion. I think that when you start this process off with him behind the scenes, him being Shedeur Sanders, getting 11 on 11 reps behind the scenes and, kind of gradually working that way into it, I thought it made a lot of sense. And I think that how he handled it today, I think is going to raise questions for most, but we just got to trust the process. He's already let us know that Shedeur is getting his fair shot of reps behind the scenes in those 11 on 11 settings. And to see how he performed today, the only thing I had to my mercy was the videos that I saw floating around on social media. And I thought he looked crisp in the pocket. I thought, his balls was on time. And I thought they looked good coming out of his hand. I saw a few throws of Dylan Gabriel's that looked good. Per Mary Kay Cabot, she said he thought he struggled with some incompletions that could have been there. And he had some passes that was broken up. So, whatever the case may be, no knock on Dylan. Again, we're early in this process. And the Browns offensive coordinator believe all four of those guys has the opportunity to win his job. So we shall see how that works out. I got Spencer German texting me now. He is saying he's about to get ready to pull up and get ready to jump on with us. So I'll go back through the chat, read some more of your comments. Again, we got 219 people watching live. I appreciate y'all. Make sure y'all smash that like button. Share this, man. Tell a friend to pull up. Let's see what's going on. Roddy Porter says, what day do you come on? Roddy, I am on every Wednesday at 5 p.m. on the Ultimate Cleveland Sports Show YouTube channel. Radio Pastor says, what up, upstate South Carolina in the building? Enjoy your content. I appreciate you. They say they watching all the way from ATL, man. Shout out to ATL. Y'all know I'm a NASCAR guy, and one of my favorite tracks on the circuit has always been the Atlanta Motor Speedway. So shout out to them. My man said he watching from Amsterdam, man. Shout out to you, man, for pulling up on us. Dino Up School Channel. See you Buffs and Shedeur followers. We coming. We ain't hard to find. What up, Warren G? Hey, man, I don't want no beef, man, with the Shedeur Sanders personal followers, man. Just don't be trying to take a crap on my city. That's all I was saying, man. But we happy to have y'all. Let's go get some dubs together as we chase a Super Bowl here in Cleveland. That's all we really want. We all want the same thing. I'm a see you Buff fan. Let's go. I think that's a fact. I think we all want the same thing. We just want to see everybody get a fair shot. And if you're a Cleveland Browns fan, a diehard Cleveland Browns fan, you want to see the Cleveland Browns be successful, no matter who's out there starting at quarterback, running back, wide receiver, etc. We just want to see this team win. We are frustrated. We tired of the losing. We tired of being bottom feeders. We tired of having realistic expectations, and then the bottom falls out. Like, we tired of it. I'm 37 years old, man. I can count on one hand, how many playoff games I've seen. That's kind of crazy. Like, when you really think about it in a nutshell, that's low-key wild for real. We got Cali in the house. Shout out to Cali. We got 12 is legendary. Chi-Town in the building. Shout out to Chi-Town. It says facts. I don't care about all that. They keep moving the goalposts, like G. Bush said. 14, 23, 6 touchdowns and 1 pick from 12 after 2 sessions. Fam, it wasn't personal to you. I think it came down to the information just wasn't making sense, like during rookie minicamp. They said Shedeur threw 3 of 13, and we knew that was BS, and reporters agree. Now, I feel like it ain't personal, man. No harm, no foul. We all might as well get acquainted with each other. The truth of the matter is Shedeur is here for at least the next 4 years. And if he balls out and he becomes the starting quarterback of the Cleveland Browns, then he going to be here for probably FOMO. And, Lord willing, I'm going to still be here. Y'all going to still be here. And we're going to be engaging for years to come. So we might as well get acquainted, get to know each other, and don't be beefing. Spencer need to hurry up and pull up, man. Time is of the essence right here, right now. People know this. So let's keep going through the comments. We all need well-off caps, so we need factual progress. It says Shedeur broke numerous records at both Jackson State and Colorado. He holds a single-season passer yards record at Colorado with 4,134 yards, and is second in Colorado single-season passing yards. Somebody said they are watching from Jacksonville, Florida. Shout out to you, Luther. 100-216 ain't nothing to play with. He won the Johnny Unitas Golden Arm Award in 2024, the Deacon Jones Trophy in 2022. 12 did great today, Earl. Yeah, I heard, man. They said 12 was out there boiling today. Spencer say he here. I don't see him. I do see him. He is here. All right, cool. Let's get a read in, man, and we're going to welcome Spencer German to the show. He was at Browns OTAs today, and he can speak to more than I can about what was going on out there. But first, it's a good time to let you know that this episode of the Ultimate 216 Show is brought to you by the Buckeye State Credit Union. If you're unfamiliar with them, let me introduce you to the financial friend you didn't know you needed until now. Buckeye State Credit Union is a local brand that offers a wide range of products from saving accounts to mortgages and auto loans. They have some of the lowest rates around and are committed to serving Northeast Ohio. The Cleveland location is in Shaker Heights, but there are 5 brick and mortar locations across the state. Basically, Buckeye State Credit Union is here to help you make your life easier. They make banking more convenient, always putting the customer first so you leave feeling cared for, valued, and respected. Buckeye State Credit Union, our core values are what set us apart: connect, simplify, and adapt. These values make Buckeye State Credit Union the right choice for you. For more information, head over to buckeyecu.com for more information. Buckeye State Credit Union, your money simplified. And with that, man, we welcome in. Let's get him in here. The host of the Locked On Browns podcast and the co-host of the Saturday morning show with yours truly, Earl the Pearl, my dog, Spencer German. What's up, brother?
What's going on, Earl? Sorry, man. I thought you saw me in there. I was sitting there. I was like, I thought you were just riffing for a little bit. And I was like, all right, he'll get me in. And then I realized you didn't see me. So that's my bad.
No, man. So it's important to note, man, this is me and Spencer co-host a radio show every Saturday, 8 a.m. to 12 p.m. on 92.3 The Fan, also on the Odyssey app. If you haven't heard us on the radio, man, you are missing a really, really good show. Make sure y'all check us out this weekend. We do a segment to end the show called Get It Off Your Chest, where callers can call into the radio station blind and say anything that they want to say, as long as it's not about politics and religion. So we have a lot of fun with that. Speaking of fun, did you have fun out there today watching week 2 of the open session of the OTAs?
Yeah, it was fun. It was a little hot. I'm sure you can sort of tell I got a little sun on my head. I keep forgetting to grab a hat when I leave, so I don't know what that's about. But no, it was nice though. Solid day, I think, just in general for the team. And it's the biggest thing for me, Earl, is like when I go to these practices during this time of year, I just try to keep in perspective like what the main goal is. And the main goal isn't always the result. Like I know people take a lot away or try to take a lot away from these like fictitious box scores that get posted of the quarterback stats and all these things. But more so, I'm just kind of watching like, okay, are these guys learning from their mistakes and how are they acclimating to the offense? And are the things that they're learning in the meeting rooms translating to the actual field? But yeah, there were some things that stood out. I'm sure we'll talk about a number of these things. the quarterback competition, of course. And there were some other things that I guess were maybe caught my attention that in a negative way that we can get into as well.
All right, let's start with the quarterback competition. You know, we had Mary Kay Cabot said she thought that Shedeur Sanders kind of stood out above Dylan Gabriel today. Daniel Oyefusi said he thought that Shedeur Sanders had a strong day. Daryl Ryder, we know him very well. He thought that, you know, though it's OTAs, he said it's unfair to judge it, but he thought Shedeur had a stronger day than Dylan Gabriel as well. I want to know what your two I saw.
Yeah, no, it's funny. Shedeur sort of started his 11 on 11 reps during the red zone portion of practice. He like boots out to his left and he slips. And it was kind of like this funny moment to sort of start his 11 on 11 reps where it was like, oh, well, all right, we're off to a rough start. But he quickly turned it around, I thought. Looked really good, looked decisive throwing the football. He had a really nice play to Caden Davis in the back of the end zone that after further review, I think all of us in the media decided he didn't quite get the second foot in. But it was a nice throw, and it was almost that touchdown. It was where you want it to be for a wide receiver.
Got to work on that footwork.
100%. It was not Shedeur's fault. I don't think that it was a touch. It wasn't a touchdown. But so yeah, he had a couple really nice throws. I thought he navigated the offense well when he was out there. And it is important to keep in mind, like, he was pretty much out there with third and fourth stringers. So he's still sort of getting those reps with guys down the depth chart. But I've been saying all along, like, it's not about the order of the quarterbacks right now. It's more about what they're doing with those reps and if they're making the most of them. And I thought Shedeur did that today. I thought Dylan had a couple nice plays. He had a really nice touchdown early on in the 11 on 11 portion. But I also think he had some rough ones where he was like missed the mark on a couple passes, either high and outside or just, you know, off target a little bit. Now, it's important to keep in mind, they do like this modified 7-on-7 where it's like the offense has an offensive line in front of them, but the offensive line isn't really like engaging all that much. And they use offensive linemen on the other side of the offensive line as defensive linemen. And the whole point is like they're trying to get the quarterback to drop back and feel that there's something in front of them, but there's not like a lot of pressure. And they're supposed to just kind of read the defense. Your corners are out there, your linebackers are out there, get a sense of what your progressions are, what you're trying to sort of accomplish. And so in those drills, like, I thought he went through his progressions well. It was just he was missing the mark with some of those passes. So I think there was some room for improvement there, but I thought Dylan had a pretty solid day. What also caught my attention from a quarterback standpoint was just the fact that you didn't see a lot of Joe Flacco today. And I think that's mostly by design. I don't think it necessarily is a testament to, like, I don't think it's saying anything in terms of, well, hey, you know, he's not in this competition or he's not going to win the job or anything. I think it was more just about this time of year. They're trying to gauge like where the two rookies, where Kenny Pickett is at, like how they're adjusting to things, if they can run these offenses effectively. There's not as much of a learning curve for Joe Flacco. So from that standpoint, I do think he kind of has the leg up at this juncture just because he doesn't have to be out there and take all these reps because they know what to expect with him. I do think Kenny sort of continues to look like the Kenny Pickett that I think many of us are wary of. Like he hasn't had the strongest OTAs, but that can all change next week when minicamp opens up if he's you know, off to a better start and is performing well. So we'll see what that looks like. But those are my overarching thoughts, I think, on the quarterback competition today.
Let's go back to Dylan Gabriel.
Sure.
Forgive me, his name is slipping my mind right now. The guy that writes for Oregon for Sports Illustrated that we had on our radio show probably about a month ago.
Oh,
Alec Dietz.
Yeah, Alec Dietz. That's right. Yeah.
All right, Alec Dietz. So when we had Alec Dietz on our show, again, he covers the Oregon Ducks football team. So he's seen a lot of Dylan Gabriel. Two things that he said, you know, to us that me and you said that we will be watching for. He thought that Dylan Gabriel struggled to get the ball to the tight ends. He said he noticed that was a deficiency and that Dylan Gabriel struggled in the red zone while he was at Oregon. Those two areas that me and you said we were keeping our eye on, how did you think he fared in those two areas in particular?
I can't necessarily, I haven't tracked per se, like how much he's thrown to tight ends at this juncture, but now that you're bringing this up, like that is something I will make a mark of paying more attention to next week. I can tell you though, like a lot of his completions have come with him sort of dumping it off over the middle on some shorter stuff as he's gone through his progressions and seen like, okay, this isn't open, so I'm going to go here, utilizing his check down. I think that sometimes that's been the tight end, but other times it's been like a running back or just like a crossing wide receiver or something like that as well. And then I think bigger picture, in terms of like the red zone. I thought today was a pretty good example of like he did some nice things in the red zone. So I think again, those are still probably areas of improvement for him overall. And again, you got to remember he's only been in the NFL for a little over a month, so it's not like you expect him to be amazing at this point. But that's a good question because I think especially the red zone portion of it, that is an area where all quarterbacks are going to get judged. Like if you can punch it in for points, if you're completing these drives with touchdowns, that's what you want to see on offense. And so his ability to do that is going to be massively important. And we'll see how things look at minicamp next week. And I'll certainly make note of like trying to pay attention to those two things, especially because it's a good point by you to know, what he looks like in those areas in particular are going to be important for this Browns offense and what they're trying to accomplish.
So you've been at both open portions of the Browns OTAs. You'll be there next week when they start the mandatory mini camp. And this question might be tough for you because again, this is way too early.
Yeah.
But just from what you have assessed in the 2 times that you've had the opportunity to see all 4 of these quarterbacks, how do you think? Because when we get to the veteran mini camp, that's a different phase of this program. How do you think that quarterback depth chart is going to shape up when we get to that point? Do you think it'll be the same as it is now? Do you think it can look a little different?
I think going into next week, it's going to be the same as it is right now. I think it'll still be Flacco and Pickett sort of duking it out at the top of this depth chart. I'm trying to weigh like my personal feelings versus what the Browns are going to do. Mm-hmm. And I think the Browns really like Kenny Pickett for whatever reason. We might have pushback on that, but they really like Kenny Pickett. He took the first reps with 11 on 11s today. Like I said,
why do you think that is?
I don't know, man. Like I think part of it is they're enamored with this idea that he can be their Sam Darnold. Like he can be their guy that they revive his career. They feel like they can get something from him. He's younger, maybe still some room to grow in a different system. They probably feel like he didn't get a fair shake in Pittsburgh and he didn't have the right people around him to be successful. So I think all those things come into play, but I keep going back to the idea that he was the first quarterback they added this offseason. They traded for him, Earl. Like they gave up draft capital to get him. Joe Flacco was just like, hey, let's just pay him some money and get him in here. So I can't help but think that they still really like Kenny Pickett. And so maybe he's the first guy up. If it was up to me, I think Flacco would still be the first guy because I think he's looked the strongest to this point. That's kind of to be expected. But I would sort of go that way. But I think it's going to be those two. I think it's going to be Dylan Gabriel. And I do think today was another sort of sign that Shedeur Sanders is the 4th guy in this depth chart. Whether or not you agree with that, whether or not I agree with that, which I don't necessarily agree with that, that is, I think, the hierarchy of this room right now and how things play out next week at mandatory minicamp. And more, it's a little more highly competitive. You got guys like Myles Garrett finally going to be here for that portion of the offseason program as they build up to training camp. And as things get more intense, like what do these guys look like in those settings? That will then dictate what that depth chart looks like going into training camp, which is where you start it turns less. It's still going to be a competition, but it turns less from that and more to, all right, now we're starting to get ready for the season.
All right. So I got a question for you, and this just came to my mind. Hopefully I framed this the right way. So we all know social media and reality is 2 different things, right? When we're talking about these athletes. Now, Shedeur Sanders has a huge fan base, a huge following, but at the end of the day, that don't necessarily hold weight when you get into an NFL locker room because of the veterans there. But of the 2 rookie quarterbacks, right, just from what you've observed, because you're around a team a lot, who has the, the moxie about them, or who is it that you see the veterans typically gravitate to when the veterans are around? Like who seems like they stands out more to the veterans of the 2 rookie quarterbacks? And that's important because at some point, one of these guys might be your starting quarterback this season. So sure. It's really, really important to know early on, okay, like who really has the veterans' ear so far?
Yeah, it's a really good question, Earl. I want to say like part of the answer to this question is I need more information because I think an important piece that we haven't seen yet, Earl, is when we get to go in the locker rooms at some point, like usually that doesn't happen until the season starts, like regular season. When we're in the locker rooms, like you see guys having side conversations, you see guys like cracking jokes, you see guys kind of conglomerating together and having conversations. And that's where I think you get a better sense of like, okay, who has like that presence about them in the locker room. Out on the field right now, we've only been there the 2 days with the entire team, basically the entire team together out in the field. And so a lot of it is like Shedeur spends time off on the other field doing stuff with the threes and the fours when, Flacco and Pickett are handling stuff with like the ones and the veterans that you would mostly be paying attention to. Now, when he has been, like when it's the full team sort of together, he is standing very close to Tommy Rees and Bill Musgrave, I can tell you that. And then you do see him interact with his teammates a little bit. And just the way that his teammates talk about him, it does seem like Shedeur is commanding, like has this commanding presence about him that guys are getting along with him very well. Dylan, I think you see some of that as well. Now he was out there with actually some of the ones today, and it seemed like he was commanding the huddle pretty well and doing a good job of just like orchestrating things, and didn't seem like it was too big for him. At the moment, it was too big for him, and he understood what he was trying to accomplish, and he had no problem sort of seizing that. So that I think both guys to this point, in the limited amount of time we've seen them be able to interact with their teammates, I think both have shown signs of that. But to your point, I am fascinated to see how that continues to evolve. Training camp will get exposure to them like almost on a daily basis. Once the regular season rolls around and we're in that locker room, we can really see like who guys are gravitating towards. And I promise you I'll have an even better answer then. But I would say right now, like both guys seem to be handling that pretty well.
Running back position, Quinshon Judkins, has he started to separate himself as the clear-cut lead back in the Cleveland Browns backfield?
I think so. And I think that was kind of etched in stone the moment they took him. He's fantastic. Like even today, he didn't necessarily break like any massive runs today, but it was just like his ability to see the hole, hit the hole, make the right moves, be shifty in space and make guys miss and try to do those. Now they're not tackling, but obviously like his ability just to like see the field well and make the right cuts in this offense. I think he's poised to absolutely thrive. I thought he had a really good practice today. I think this continues to be something where it's going to be him as the lead guy, and then Sampson as kind of that change of pace guy. And they seem to be getting along pretty well too, which is a pretty, nice part of this equation as well, that those two are becoming good teammates and good friends on top of it. So it'll be interesting to monitor that the rest of the way. But yeah, I think he stands out among these rookies and among this entire team as somebody who's ready to contribute, immediately as soon as the ball is kicked on September 7th.
So it's funny because you didn't mention Jerome Ford. So I would assume Jerome Ford would be running back 3, but we've seen Jerome Ford using the special teams role before. Do you kind of see him being used as a specialist for this team this season?
This is actually something I think is worth monitoring at minicamp next week for sure, like how he gets worked into this equation. Because I do think Quinshon's going to be the lead guy. And then it could be some sort of like sharing behind there of Sampson and Ford, because Ford's good as a third down guy. Like he proved, especially that year with Flacco in 2023, that he can be a pass catcher out of that backfield. Like you said, he's been involved in special teams as well, so he can make some. He can certainly do some things there and make his presence felt on the roster that way too. I'm curious to see like how he gets worked into this thing. I don't know if I would call it like a true running back 3, because I do think he's going to sort of be mixed in with Sampson. The only thing I think I would say definitively right now is that Quinshon is like your top guy, your lead guy, your premier guy. And then the other guys, Sampson and Ford, will sort of get worked in around that. And I do think there's a chance that he can have a role in special teams as well. Although they brought in DeAndre Carter, obviously, to contribute there as a returner. And Bubba Ventrone actually talked about him today, feeling like they have a guy that really can make an impact there. So we'll see how that shakes out with Ford being involved in that phase of the game. But I do think Ford has a role in this offense. It's just, it hasn't necessarily revealed itself yet, where it's a lot of just like rotating guys in and out because they're trying to just do these drills and kind of get the basics done on the field. So we'll see that, I think, in the coming weeks, what his role looks like.
No Cedric Tillman, no Michael Woods today. What wide receiver stood out to you?
I think Jerry Jeudy continues to be the guy that's really stealing the show. He just has like a different energy and feel about him this year. I think it's just because he's comfortable, right? Like he both here in Cleveland, but also just in his own skin. He doesn't have all this criticisms of like he's never had a 1,000-yard season. People like Mark Schlereth saying that he's no good and the Browns made a stupid trade and all this. He's kind of proven at this point that he's now a number 1 wide receiver. Had the Pro Bowl season, and I think now he's just trying to build upon it. It's hard without, like, because this room is so thin already in terms of talent. It is so hard to sort of keep up with like who's doing what and what's kind of happening with these wideouts, just because I think we're all sort of trying to figure out like where they all fit into things and how they like what roles each of them could potentially have in certain situations, or if they're going to be involved at all. So I do think Cade McDonald was somebody who made a couple nice plays today. He's one of these guys like further down the depth chart that's obviously fighting for a roster spot. But I don't know that like there's going to be any names that people really are familiar with because, like you said, the two guys at the top of the other premier guys, and then Deontay Johnson, who I think the Browns I think want him to have a role as that slot guy. But what's been hard right now is like he hasn't been there. He wasn't there last week, and I know you and I talked about this on the show, Earl. Like it's one thing he misses the first set of OTAs, right? Because like things happen, family stuff, whatever. Maybe he had some plans, fine. But now he's missed two weeks of OTAs. And again, normally I wouldn't care about this stuff. Like I don't care that Miles isn't there. But for a guy that's like on his last life in the NFL, you'd think he'd be there. So figuring out what his role is going to be is still something that we have to see. And I think that's nothing that will reveal itself more next week at mandatory minicamp.
Yeah, or like right or wrong, I think I openly admit it. I do think it's different strokes for different folks. I don't care that Miles is not there. I don't care that Batonio isn't there.
Yeah.
I don't care that David Njoku isn't present. But I do care that Deontay Johnson isn't present because to my knowledge, to my understanding, voluntary OTAs is put forth so that rookies and newcomers can learn the offense, learn the system, get acclimated to their teammates and their coaches. And you are coming to Cleveland with some bad stereotypes on your name of being a me first guy and not a good teammate, and showing up, being present when the media is present. I thought you could have gone a long way in helping yourself in that department just by being there. You know, the optics of it would have helped you. And so to Browns fans, we still scratching our head to wondering who Deontay Johnson is and what he can provide us. So before I let you get out of here, anything else that I didn't touch on that stood out to you during this open session of OTAs today?
I think Carson Schlesinger is going to be really good. I don't want to do like the JOK comp because I think that's unfair. Those are some very lofty shoes to fill. But I do think like early on here, and again, it's a lot of there's no tackling, he's got no pads on, but you can see just his ability to react to things and drop in coverage and make plays that way, especially in a lot of these 7-on-7 things where it's linebackers and DBs and they're kind of dropping into coverage and flying around. So I thought that was good to see. The only other thing I'll say is like we talked to DeJuan Jones today, and I thought DeJuan Jones was pretty forthcoming just in like his journey and his recovery from the injuries he's had the last couple of years, how he's embracing this left tackle spot and how he's just kind of trying to go with the flow, even though he's never played the position before, but he feels good. And I think that is like one of the biggest stories I think that could come out of the offseason program, could come out of training camp, could just end up being DeJuan Jones and his health and how effective he is at that tackle position. Because let's face it, Earl, like if they sort of stumble into their left tackle of the future with DeJuan Jones, or even if he does a suitable job and then they draft one later and they move him to back to right tackle next year where he's a little more comfortable once maybe Jack Conklin's out of the picture, like that's a huge, huge thing for this team moving forward as they try to build this roster back up, especially with a lot of young players. We all thought tackle was a bigger need that they didn't address, so they're really leaning into the idea that they think DeJuan Jones can play that spot. And if he does that this year and does it at a high level, like, man, they might accidentally end up with like a foundational lineman for years to come, and it's one less thing they got to think about as they go through. They won't call it a rebuild, but we all kind of know it's somewhat of a rebuild here as they try to get this roster out of some down times and back on track. So I think that's another big storyline, or at least continues to be a big storyline for the Browns at this point.
All right, and where can tell the fans when they can catch the next episode of the Locked On Browns?
Yeah, I'll drop one tomorrow. It'll be a lot of recapping what we saw out of the practice field today. We'll talk about the quarterback competition a little bit more as well, and a few other things that transpired out in Berea as we get you ready for a mandatory minicamp next week. So, Earl, I always appreciate coming on with you, man. I'll do it anytime. I apologize we missed each other. I was in the waiting room for a little bit there. I should have texted you sooner, but I'm always happy to do this, man. Thank you.
For sure, man. I'll see you on Saturday, brother. Be great.
No doubt, brother. Thanks.
All righty, man. That's Spencer German, man, from the Locked On Browns podcast. Before we close the show, it's a good time to let you know that this portion of the show is brought to you by FanDuel. The NBA playoffs are in full swing, and every night delivers highly worthy performances, majority momentum can't miss moments, whether it's a game-winning shot or a breakout player. There's never been a better time to get in on the action. FanDuel makes it easy to stay in the game before tip-off and live with player props, performance trends, and same-game parlays. Fans have more ways than ever to play smart and win big. I like to take advantage of the 25% NBA boost throughout the playoffs, man. Throw $10 on a bet and, let it ride and see what happens. If you do the FanDuel, it's the perfect time to sign up. Head over to FanDuel.com/UCSS and place your first $5 bet. If it wins, you'll get $200 in bonus bets. Make every moment more with FanDuel, official sports betting partner of the NBA. As we get ready to close this show out, I want to thank everybody, man, who has joined me today. It's been a fire episode. Don't forget, the Cleveland Guardians are about to play in a little bit over an hour. The Guardians will be in the Bronx taking on the New York Yankees at 7:05. Per FanDuel, the Guardians are running a half on the money line. A lot of people say they'll cover that. I'm going to take the over on that nine-run over-under. So I decided today to put together a parlay. Also, this is the pitching matchup today, Ortiz versus Schmidt. You see Ortiz 2-6, 59 in his pitch, got a 4.4 ERA. Schmidt, 3.95 ERA. I think it's going to be a lot of runs put on the board. The weather is nice, and I think the Cleveland Guardians is going to come away victorious. But courtesy of our sponsor, man, I had to do this one time. So this is the 5-leg parlay that I put out, and this is how we going to rock this, right? My Twitter handle is @EarlThePearl216. If you tag me in a tweet that you trailed this parlay and this parlay happens to hit, and then you send it to me tomorrow or when it hits, I'll make sure that you get a free Ultimate Cleveland Sports Show t-shirt. So it's 2 steps. You got to actually trail a parlay, tag me on Twitter to show me that you trailed the parlay. And if the parlay hits, whoever trailed it, I'll make sure that you get a free Ultimate Cleveland Sports Show t-shirt. So this is what we're going to do tonight. We're going to go Jose Ramirez for a hit. We're going to go Paul Goldschmidt for a hit. We're going Jose for an RBI. I think Aaron Judge is going to hit a home run tonight. And we got Goldschmidt as well for an RBI. So $10 with the boost can win you about $199. So y'all let me know, man. Again, if you plan on trailing that, let your boy know. And I'll make sure that you get an Ultimate Cleveland Sports Show t-shirt, man. Let's go through some of these comments. Let's see if something that's worth hitting the screen. Carl says, I agree 100%. Receiver, tight end, running backs need practice times 4 for the purposes. Johnson quit on the Ravens last. Why did the Browns sign him? I don't know. That's a good question. I don't know. I think everybody feeling that way. Carl says, great show. I appreciate that. And Bell says, from Mississippi, shout out to Mississippi, 216 Cleveland, stand up. And we got somebody watching from H-Town. Listen, this has been a fun episode, man. I end every radio show and every Ultimate Cleveland 216 show the same way, man. Be great, spread love. Being great come with a price. Spreading love is priceless. Until next Wednesday, I'm out. Love y'all.